Live from the KC Property Guys and KC Pier Studio in beautiful Kansas City. Home to over 200 fountains and more barbecue restaurants per capita than anywhere in the nation. It's the Kansas City Real Estate Industry Leaders Show, a show about industry leaders from the local Kansas City metro market for Kansas City real estate related professionals and enthusiasts like you. And now, here's your hosts, Eric and Lucas Shaley.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Lucas Shaley, and welcome back to the Kansas City Real Estate Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Eric Shaley, as well as Phil Singleton with Kansas City Web Design and SEO. So, you want to start us off?
Yeah, you bet. So, Phil, good to have you in the studio.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. So, for new listeners, watchers, viewers, we run 3 podcasts, and Phil, you're aware of this because you're part of the author of kind of our marketing strategy, and that's one of the reasons why we have you in the studio. So we run KC Pier, which is the foundation company, and we do that on Fridays where we talk Kansas City foundations and foundation repair throughout the Kansas City area. We Lucas and I run KC Property Guys. We do a podcast on KC Property Guys where we talk about the cash investment, real estate cash investment industry in Kansas City. And then the reason you're here is we also run a Real Estate Industry Leaders Podcast, which is the title of our podcast, right? It's our kind of signature page, but you've helped us kind of kick that off.
Yeah, I love that you guys are doing that. It's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
And we've sat, off out of studio and, quite a few times and talked about marketing and digital marketing and working towards the home services as well as the real estate industry. So we figured we'd have you in the studio today to talk specifically kind of about that and talk to some of our listeners and viewers and readers that are looking for, a strategy to try to, access different conduits and channels of people, through marketing and some creative marketing. And so we're glad to have you in and start talking a little shop today.
I love it. Great honor. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you bet. So it's good to have you in. So when it comes to, you could probably apply the basic concepts of what you do to it's a widget, right? Whether it's real estate or whether it's home services or whether it's any restaurants and food industry, hospitality, whatever it may be, right? You probably can, but are there different techniques? What's the truth to that? What do you do specifically for either real estate or the home services, or does it kind of apply across the board of some of those strategies that you do to help people?
I think in general, there's a kind of a master formula that you can apply to lots of different businesses. But then once you kind of drill down to it, of course, every business, every industry has some nuances to it and different ways that maybe the clients or the consumers or the buyers in that market might consume content or go look for things to make decisions.
Right.
But in my opinion, it's there's still, from if you're kind of taking a look from that, whatever it is, the 40,000 foot look from the sky, there are definitely some big picture items I think that apply to all businesses.
Yep.
And you guys have heard me talk about this a lot. When anybody comes into our office to talk about things, the first thing I like to try and do is kind of step back and say, hey, let's talk about Google for a minute. And when people think about Google, they're usually really thinking a lot about just typing something into the box and getting a result back. And that still is, SEO, search engine optimization, that still kind of is what it's all about. But over the years, Google's gone from being a cool kind of a way to search things online to becoming the gateway to the internet and kind of part of the modern purchase process, right?
You bet.
So what's really cool for me from just a master digital marketing, I think, standpoint is Google's evolved from this kind of just click and search and find a result to them knowing everything about the purchase process. They know how people search for things, where they are, what they need to see on a website to be able to buy and things like that.
Google's watching.
Exactly. So the implications are they know the entire purchase process. They're part of it. So when you can understand how they think and then figure out how to apply that to your own business and marketing in general, I think that's how a lot of businesses can 10x their return because they have the answers. They know what the process is from where they were, what they bought, what sites they visited, when they landed on a website, what did they see that got them to buy it, after they bought, what were the actions that they took after it. So they know the whole process. So from that standpoint, I think we can all learn and say, hey, there are certain things in this formula that we should all be looking at as marketers and small business owners, and this goes all the way down to real estate.
Absolutely.
Into the things that we need to be doing to show up on Google, because what the master point of this, I think, is it's not really just about rankings anymore. I think search engine results are more a KPI, a key performance indicator of your entire marketing plan, because that's what Google does these days. It used to be like 2 signals.
Yeah.
They'd look at your keywords on your website and how many backlinks you had. Now there's like 200. They're looking at your reviews and your content and your podcast and all these things, and how it kind of relates back to your website. And when you can do that, right, that's kind of what's happening now. So that's kind of how I look at things, is developing a Google mindset to all digital, and then seeing how we can apply that to our website and our marketing, and then drill it down to like, okay, now we know that's a master thing. How do we get it down to like things like home services or real estate or marketing agencies or whatever? Then it kind of gets into little nuances from there. But
fantastic fundamental approach, which is extremely valuable. Speaking to that personally. Now, when you're talking though, you nailed it on the head, because I'm probably dating myself. I was a guy that was actually physically typing in HTML to learn how to post web pages in the day, right? I literally would just pull up a book and I would just look up the JPEGs and .html and basically built my first very bland Craigslist type of page, back in the day, and posted on the internet and was made public. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then from that, it was like, Yahoo was king, right? Netscape and Yahoo was king. Well, for a while, it was when I was doing this is, and that probably dates me because it doesn't exist anymore. But there were set algorithms, and I learned that. It's like, okay, it's looking for certain keywords. How often is that keyword mentioned? And then it get into images. How many images you have on the page? What type of backlinks you put on those images? Well, now it's just so much that you hit on the head that Google is analyzing and looking at and taking into its analytics, that for me, even someone who has some experience, I consider myself dangerous, right? But even for me, that someone's dangerous and still focuses on other avenues, but knows enough about SEO and digital marketing that can get himself around, it's overwhelming to really take it to that next level. So now what's it like to the average Joe that just simply knows, hey man, I see content on the page, and I know when I type something in, something's going to pop up. I don't have no idea how it works, but I know it works, because I can do it all day long. Right. But I also have this business, and I know that there's a conduit, an A to B, but I have no idea how to get to that A to B, and that's where you become invaluable, especially in today's world when those analytics become so complex and so layered and diversified. I think that's a real true value add that you can bring to the table. And so how often is that changing? I mean, is Google are they giving, because you used to be able to look up the algorithms. They might have been a little delayed, but you could look it up and figure it out and be able to adjust your page to that. I don't know if is that the case still today?
It is always changing, because if you're just talking about pure search results, the industry, the SEO industry, which is kind of what my angle's always been. Google is always kind of changing and trying to upgrade it and make sure the results are good so people still use them and that kind of stuff. But also, there's people out there trying to game the system, right? Trying to hire guns like us to try and make sure that we're taking advantage of everything that they're looking for. But I think what really has fundamentally changed, and to me is the most important thing, is you guys have heard me talk about this. In fact, I just wrote an article for another magazine on this, which is the way Google has my favorite story about this whole thing is the way Google has this separate army of search engine quality evaluators, they call them, right? So they've had this for many years. They've got these 10,000 people out there who are manually checking search results all day, and then they compile and report them back to Google, and then Google uses that to have a human test to see if their algorithms and their artificial intelligence is working. Well, this document is about 160 pages long, and they've been posting it out on the internet for a long time. And that's great for us to be able to see, because for me, it's like the answers to the test, not just for SEO, just for SEO, but for marketing in general. Because they literally go on there and ask these quality raters, and this document will tell them what exactly you need to see on a website to determine if it should be ranked. So for me, that's, again, beyond search engine results. It's like that's the answer to marketing in there. And they go in and specifically say the things that you need to see on a website. And the reason why this is so important is because, as I mentioned in the beginning, Google knows the purchase process. They know if they see certain things on a website, that's what's going to get people to trigger to buy them. And if that works, then people are going to buy AdWords more, which is about 15 to 20% of search results. But it's still, we can apply that to all of marketing and organic search results as well.
Gotcha.
So the most important part, I think, of this is what the main takeaway is from this training guide that they use for these manual quality raters, and that is expertise, authority, and trust. Google knows from their monopolistic view of the entire economy that when a new person comes to a website or sees anything, at the end of the day, when given a choice, they want to buy from an expert. That's the lesson that we can learn as digital marketers, whether you're home services or a real estate agent or in any other business.
Right.
People want to buy from experts. So the things that we should be doing from a digital marketing standpoint are things that show people and show Google and the internet that we're the experts in our field. So what does that mean? It means having your own podcast. It means blog posting on your website, right? It means making sure that you're working on your reputation management. It means joining in associations and being on third-party places where the trust level is high, so people can see that you're trustworthy. But Google also sees you're trustworthy. And when you stack these things up and put them in the right place, which should be on your website, you've got these things that not only fit the search quality guidelines, which again are the answers to the test, but those are the things people want to see from, right?
Yeah,
if I'm going to see a peering guy that's just got a bunch of peering pictures and stuff, or one that's an expert that has his own podcast, that's writing a book, that's blogging, it's got helpful videos, who are you going to buy from?
Right.
Every time you're going to buy
Pretty
from an
obvious
expert.
decision at that point.
Well, and it only increases the quality of the search content from Google because they're not producing a bunch of listed scammers or guys with bad reputations, bad BBB results, or anything like that. They're gaining quality, which essentially is producing them as the search engine, which eliminates their competition. So they're just simply evolving their product to the point where they are that expert as well.
Yeah.
And they're accepted. I mean, people say go Google it, you know.
Right,
They don't say go Yahoo it. Go look it up on Netscape. You don't hear that anymore. It's Google is now an action.
But even if you take Google out of the equation and say, hey, I've got other marketing activities where I'm at a trade show event or I'm at I'm doing traditional marketing or TV, radio advertising, by applying the Google best practices principles to your home base, which should be your website, you're going to get better conversions because you're still going to have those things that show that you have the expertise, the authority, and the trust. You'll get better conversions off. So that's really what the main point of, I think, Google is these days. Is it's more than just search results.
Right.
It's the key to tying everything together and getting a higher ROI because you're focusing on the things that they know. Because, again, it comes back to they're a monopoly. They know too much about us. They know how you buy things from A to Z. And if you can apply that to your marketing, you're going to get better ROI from all of your marketing dollars, not just single focused on search engine and maybe pay-per-click ads and things like that.
So for those watching, what's your feel in terms of the value add from a marketer's perspective of Yahoo, Facebook Live, Instagramming, those things that help kind of complement exposure versus things that actually add true value to the SEO and customer acquisition?
Look, I think it's all good. I mean, there's certain places like Facebook and Instagram that are more visual and they've got huge audiences. So certainly there's certain things like from an influencer standpoint or something that has a really nice visual product. Then those things, you really have to make sure you incorporate that. The thing that you need to balance, and we all need to balance, is we want to make sure that we're putting all of our best content on what we own, which is our website. Because if you put stuff up only and spend all your time on somebody else's platform, well, most social media has got a shelf life of about 6 hours to maybe about 6 minutes, and you don't own it. So you just constantly have to flood it, and it never becomes documented on the internet on a place where it can be searched and found again or forever. So that's why when you want to produce any kind of content, you want to make sure that your website becomes the referral source for all your best content.
Yeah, really good
and then
point.
sharing it out so people have to come back to it, so you get a double win on that thing.
Yeah.
Again, this is not like me coming up with it. It's just understanding the Google mindset and applying those principles to marketing. Because what ends up happening is if you do these, people a lot of times will hear, oh, digital marketing, this and that, and they start doing stuff.
Right.
But it's all just these single shots.
And they quickly get overwhelmed.
Right.
Because it is single shots. It's like, where's the value? Well, the value is that within that minute, within that hour, within those hours. But when it comes to longevity, there is no real true value.
Well, and they're not thinking about
it's on a feed and off a feed.
Right. they're not thinking about the multiple wins. Like we have discussed this offset. Like the value of a podcast is not just this; it's the video,
it's the backlinking to the website,
it's the syndication, it's the transcription that goes on the website, it's the the personal connections that there's. Like if you tie it all together and you know that you're talking about things that people are interested in, you get multiple wins off of one effort like this, and you get maybe 10 times the value. And to me, that's putting some thought into it, because the biggest problem I think a lot of, whether it's real estate or home services, is they're like, somebody said blogging is really good. Well, they do blogging, they just do blogs, but there's no strategy behind it.
Right.
We're not going to get any value off of it if you didn't think about the keyword.
That's the majority of the blogs that go out there, right?
And anything really. It's all single focused.
Very single layered.
Not tied together in a way where you can get multiple wins off of it. And again, I credit having a Google mindset into having a ways like take a step back and understand everything's tied together. And if it's not tied, tie it together, so you can get multiple wins off of one effort, or maybe a little bit extra time off of one effort to get 10x ROI instead of 1x ROI.
Yeah, you bet.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. The podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your likes, shares, and support. Now, back to the show.
So, I mean, that's just fantastic advice, and you may need to slow all that down and listen to between the lines.
I've heard some of it before, right? So,
well, yeah, because it's phenomenal what you're saying, and there's really a lot of value add in that. But let's take that and apply that, if you could, to some of your case studies or maybe the people that you've worked with, or even some of the work that we've done here, because we travel between two companies, right? KC Peer, Foundation Experts, Home Services. KC Property Guys, which is more, cash investment and real estate, but then KCPG Realty Group, which is definitely real estate. So how can we apply that to our real estate industry leaders who are looking to say, hey man, I'm a realtor, or I'm a home inspector, or I'm a home services guy that wants to increase my exposure and apply some of this marketing? What are some specific things that we can kind of draw from your 40,000 foot level to make it more at reach for those guys that they could apply to get some real value add?
Well, real estate industry is really, really interesting to me, because in some ways, a lot of us marketers have come full circle in that we are almost marketing ourselves as real estate agents have always done, which is putting your name and face up. So when I first got into digital marketing and SEO, I'm a complete introvert. I was like, man, I could be in the bat cave. I had a website, never had my name on it, no had an address. But then all of a sudden, that's, to be able to rank and do things and become an expert and authority and get this kind of stuff. Google chased me out of my cave, and now I'm on podcasts, I'm writing books and doing all sorts of things. Almost starting to market myself as real estate agents have always done. Their face has always been everywhere.
Yes. On
their cards, you see them on the displays, in front of the houses, on the signs and that kind of stuff. So from that perspective, they've already kind of understood how to become like an influencer and start making sure that a name and a person is associated with a brand.
Right.
That really is
brand awareness.
Well, Google's trying to do this right now too. They're trying to figure out, they almost want to rank you more than they do their website, because at the end of the day, it's all about people. Right. And if we can tie a website and the content on the website to an author, and that author has expertise and authority, the content's going to be more rankable. So in the real estate industry, I think we can take some lessons in that they've already been doing it this way for a long time. Yeah. They've already got a brand associated with a face. Yeah. And they've been doing it for a long, long time. Now, where on the flip side of that, where there's a huge opportunity is, I think a lot of real estate agents that I've seen that have come to see us over the years, they're typically coming on, their web presence is either really tied to a one page off of whatever company they're associated with, or they've got a $50 or $100 a month website program from a real estate industry website. And you see this a lot with certain industries, like maybe auto and real estate. So they're kind of stuck in this place where they've got this huge opportunity. Everybody looks for real estate and stuff online, but then they don't have their own asset or website.
But what they've been told.
Right.
Is what you've already been explaining is the full package. They bought into it because most of those realtors, and I see that through our realty group and our experience where we work with a lot of realtors, in KC Peer, we travel to offices and talk with them. They've been promised that stuff through the Bible of a website. That's the all answer that's going to bring it. And then it just simply doesn't produce. The expectation is built up in the sales process and the pitch, They buy into it, and they start essentially throwing money at a problem, hoping there's a solution, and they're ultimately disappointed with the results. And there's a lot of shortcomings in those solutions, and so you're talking about ways to effectively, add value to some of those shortcomings.
Well, and then some of the things that we've heard, like some people, and I've already shown you guys this through some other media sites that we've owned, but like, when it comes to ranking on Google for maybe real estate related keywords, it's like, well, we can't do that. We're never going to be Zillow or Trulia. You can. I mean, I beat them here in Kansas City with one of the other websites I own. So it can be done. The deal is, though, that I think a lot of the entire real estate industry in general, they're sold to buy these subscriptions to websites for the sole purpose of being able to meet the fundamental piece of showing properties through a system.
Absolutely.
And to be cost effective. And it's like, hey, we're the experts, buy from us, versus if you get into other industries like home services, they're used to building a custom WordPress site or whatever it is. It has a lot more ranking potential, and they're not buying pre-made websites or subscriptions and things like that. So it's a little bit different. So there's just a kind of interesting thing. And I think Kansas City is probably similar to how I would guess other cities are around the country, in that you just don't have a lot of sophistication on the web design development, building search engine friendly marketing platforms that they own. It's more so, at least the ones that we've seen many over the years, where they're coming off of the subscription model off of a bigger platform, where it's owned by somebody else and they're just essentially renting a place. So that's where I would come down to it. And again, if you again, the main point of what I think I've talked about, that this does apply to other businesses, whether it's foundation repair or home buying or real estate or even marketing. It's essential these days to make sure that you document and provide content on a digital asset that you own, and more that is the website, right?
There's your fundamental structure right there. This is what I've gotten from our talk. I've gotten a lot of things from the talk, but having that fundamental structure of actually owning the site so that content is owned and has some longevity to it. At least take that approach, as a business owner, as a real estate agent, as an entrepreneur. Take that approach, and that's probably a big value add right there.
Big time.
Right.
I mean, to take it even closer here, I mean, we can't, even though we've been working with you guys a shorter period of time, you were on a web builder site, and I think you've already seen some of the benefit of saying, look, what happens when you put it on a custom platform that's designed for you and your strategy versus buying a pre-made one that's on somebody else's. It's just different. It just fundamentally does a lot better in terms of being able to tie this stuff together.
Yep, you bet. You bet. That's great stuff. So we always kind of conclude. Yeah, with we're Kansas City guys. This is Kansas City Real Estate Industry Leaders. Kansas City is the beginning of that. So we have what we call our Kansas City Quick 3.
Yes.
Right? And I know you're a foodie. We've met at many a restaurant. We alternate, right? Whose turn is it anyway? If it's yours, we need to go out soon. If it's mine, we might wait.
Right.
So we talk about restaurants. If you travel around the city, you got some favorites, one or two that you want to leak out to everybody?
Wow. I mean, I hate to say, I'm not going to mention any barbecue ones. Everybody always mentions barbecue.
We always talk barbecue. You have to.
It's Kansas City.
It's Kansas City.
I'm gonna have to. We have, my wife and I. We've got a favorite sushi place off of, I think it's 87th, called Sushi Uni. You guys have heard of that?
Yeah, I just actually went there last week. It was really good.
It's awesome. It's great value. The food's really good.
They give you a ton of food too.
And the quality.
Oh, that's right.
Awesome.
You brought it back. I do remember that one.
Yeah, I couldn't finish it.
So that's been a favorite for a long time. In fact, we haven't been there in a little while. I just mentioned last week maybe we could go, but maybe that's the next place we'll have to go.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
You do sushi, right?
Absolutely.
Right,
yeah. Lucas will probably join us on that one.
All right. And a lot of I've been hitting the things. I'll go kind of in waves and things, but Jay Alexander's been out there a long time, and there's a couple of things I like on their menu that are new and have changed. I've been going there a lot the last couple months.
Yep.
So that's a good one, and I'm down south off of 135th and Metcalf. So, I think it's Red Rock Canyon. You guys have ever heard of that?
Yeah,
one?
no.
I've been there. No.
Red Rock Canyon.
I think that's right there off 135th and Metcalf. But they've I try and stay away from too much red meat and all that kind of stuff, but they've got a pork chop, and it's the best I've ever had anywhere. It's so awesome.
Right
once or twice a year, I'll go do that. Those are the ones that are kind of coming off to mine right off of the bat. Anything new that you guys have done that you can?
We've heard what was last week's Ben County with Axiom Acquisitions and Properties was Lulu's Noodles.
Okay.
Yeah. West Bottoms was mentioned.
No new place you guys have come up with recently?
That we've done personally. Where we tried recently.
You're way more of a foodie than I am. You got all the like hideaway places.
Yeah, I like the hideaway places. That's why I ask people about them.
We just most recently did Jones Barbecue.
Yeah, but of course I always sell Jones Barbecue. Yeah. That's Kansas City, Kansas.
Yeah. Awesome.
Favorite. So
absolute favorite.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where we went. We just went to somewhere. It was a Mexican restaurant, and it was we call it. I don't even know the name of this. It's Kansas City, Kansas, State Avenue, 78th. It's called the Mexican IHOP because it's an old IHOP. It looks like an IHOP.
That's awesome.
It is an IHOP,
yeah.
But you go inside, and it's Mexican food, and it's authentic Mexican food. It's right there at 78th State. I wish I knew the name. I wish I could plug you guys, but
we'll have to look at it and put
I call it the Mexican IHOP, and you go to 78th and State, you're going to be like, oh, that's the one Eric's talking about. It looks like an IHOP,
Nice.
you know? So that's a good one.
Awesome.
Favorite Kansas City event? You go to an event, you take the kids or family, you some place that you're just like, that's one that I like.
Well, I'd never been to the, I think it's the Mavericks is the hockey.
Yeah.
Team. Never had been to one of those games, and went last year with the kids, and it was a phenomenal family, very family friendly.
Yeah.
Not, you get some, I've got, my kids are 10
Out
years
in
old.
Independence, Silverstein Ice Center.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. The first time I went there, I thought that was a fantastic place. Very family friendly. Because sometimes you go to these things, people get too wild, and it's like, my kids are 10. We try and not, shelter them a little bit.
Right,
You go to some of these places, and they're hearing all sorts of stuff they've never heard before.
You bet.
But that was phenomenal. It was a great night. They really, so that for an event, I thought that was a really awesome place to go. And we'll probably go on more this year.
Cool. Yeah, right
That's
on.
a good one.
Any shout outs? Any local shout outs? Anyone you want to speak to? Kansas Cityans? Any?
People that are doing cool things. I work a lot with Brad Burrow at Real Media. Of course, I recently with Brad acquired.
Brad's a good guy.
Thinking Bigger magazine, which is a small business magazine that's been around for 30 years. I think it was called Small Business Marketing Monthly or Small Business Monthly for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. In the last 2 decades, it was known as Thinking Bigger. He and I acquired that, and we've actually got a group of B2B business service providers that are going to be part of the new launch of the magazine, which happens March 1st. This is the first time it goes out.
Sweet.
And we've got a bunch of really awesome, people in there. We've got Brian Sarf from True Wealth, Erica Broom from Lever One. We've got actually kind of drawn a blanket, but Brad's one of the participants as well.
Right on.
We've got Amber Goring from Goring. I'm going to butcher her name. They'll put in the show notes as well. But there's a bunch of really cool people that are helping to support that and put it together so we can bring a nice small business magazine back to the
Thinking
community.
Bigger.
Thinking Bigger, right. So really covers kind of the small 1 to 2 business owner to maybe up to 200 employees and more. Where they just don't, without this magazine, there really wasn't a voice for these kind of smaller Main Street businesses that wouldn't necessarily get the coverage in the Star or maybe the Business Journal. So it's been around a long time. We're glad to be able to carry the torch on that. Have a really bunch of awesome people. And I'll send you the list of names so we can make sure that we shout out those as well. The other thing I was going to say that they do is there's the 25 under 25 Employee Business Awards that's been around for 2 decades as well. Where that's an award a lot of companies here have been proud to put that on their websites and things like that. We're going to be holding that at the end of the year as well.
Nice,
cool.
So so that's something we got going on, and we'll make sure that we shout those folks out as well because they'll be happy to hear a little.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be a huge reward. You win 25 under 25. Say, hey, I'm a small business owner. I've been recognized, and this is what I worked so hard for.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so,
it's been around a long time. I probably put that award badge on maybe a couple dozen websites that we've worked with. People are so proud of, there isn't a lot of recognition for the small business owner, so that's been around. So I'm really excited to continue that tradition and be a part of it. Yeah,
I'm always really feel pretty good when I walk into a house and start talking to them, and I tell them who I'm with, and they're like, oh, I've seen those signs around. I was like, yeah. All right. Some recognition, even in the local, even neighborhood level. So that always feels good. How can anyone get a hold of you?
Our website, kcwebdesigner.com. I like, if I'm active on anything these days, I'm more so on LinkedIn. So I always like to connect with anybody on LinkedIn. Of course, we'll be promoting this one there and other as well. But please look me up online. I connect with anybody in Kansas City or anybody that's in my niche, basically, and I always like to answer questions and things on that medium. So
You bet. Well,
Perfect.
appreciate you coming in the studio today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
it's all right.
Take us home.
Alrighty. Yep.
Well, thank you guys for watching today. We hope you enjoyed, and we're going to see you on the next episode. So we'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Kansas City Real Estate Industry Leaders Show. Please support all things local to Kansas City. And hey, be sure to subscribe and share our podcast on Facebook and LinkedIn. This has been a KC Property Guys production. KCPropertyGuys.com.